they can't
Is it gonna like stare at one person the
Just
whole
like.
time?
Yeah. Last time I just looked at Craig and John.
Does it follow the voice?
We'll follow the vote.
Kind
I get
of,
it.
but last
We're
time
live.
it stayed pretty much with Craig and John.
Well, and it wasn't a split screen.
Yeah, like, but it was mostly John and Craig the whole time, and then a little bit of whoever
Well, I
was.
said
on.
Yeah, it's just settings.
Can we switch seats here?
Look at those
Yeah,
two
yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
All eyes.
This is a horrible idea.
No, when I was just looking at the screen, it was like showing up here and then another.
Oh, yeah. This whole audio is big, right? Like, yeah. Yeah.
I just hope, yeah, I hope the audio works. Because nowhere on there did it prompt me to not use it either. 99% sure it's going through the audio right now, you know, we would look it up and all that. I'm not a genius on it, so it is what it is.
Trial and error. We'll get figure out what it is. I think like those remote microphones, people have to be the
Oh.
to really do it.
It would stay active in something.
I know,
Hobbies.
there's no way that I could.
And it was a lot closer.
Well,
I don't look at the first one, so maybe retail business stuff going and
I know that.
work around the house and work out.
Yeah.
We've got the grandkids, so it's,
Everybody ready?
That's always.
it's not working, but it's different.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Derek.
Here.
Tim.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Melissa.
Here.
Mike's here. Dan.
Here.
Spencer.
Here.
Craig is gone. Nate. Here. Sue.
Here.
John.
Here.
Gretchen.
Here.
And Addison.
I told her she generally doesn't come in the summer months.
Okay.
So.
All right. Sounds good. Adoption of the agenda.
Don't move.
Spencer moves it.
Second.
Derek seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. No Warrior Pride today, no board showcase today, no student school board member report today, no public comment today. Consent agenda. Any discussions on the consent agenda?
If I may just say one thing, just so that everybody's clear, the student handbook for the middle school, high school is the last item on that consent agenda, just out of pure transparency. Karen did make two very minor changes today. So it used to say jazz choir. And in fact, we haven't had a jazz choir in a few years, but we do have a jazz band. So I did make that change. And then at our last meeting, we also, originally, the document that came out did not have the family max increase for the other of 250, but it did have it up here on the athletics. So just full transparency, we did make those two minor changes today that I caught when I was doing something, so that everybody's aware.
Okay.
And Mike, I had a couple of deals. The, on the resignations, that, all those staff members, are they pretty much, what departments are they from, what grade level are they from? I'm not big on all the names. Are they parents for the most part? or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was our child care coordinator, so,
Special
Okay.
yeah, the rest are parents.
And do they, exit kind of a strategy? Do they give any reason why they're leaving or?
They'd be Sue's
Oh,
staff,
okay.
yeah.
I have one, but yes, we had about an hour sit-down meeting and we discussed that at length, so I can share that with you privately.
Sure, no,
So,
I just wondered if it's a revolving door kind of thing, and then how do we stop the revolving door? And then I had on the handbook, I had a couple things that we could, I don't know, can you pull it up, or is it
Yep.
just that?
no, I got it right here.
You know, one thing, is there a, in the school district, do the students take a constitution test?
They do not,
No.
they are not required to, so the
Okay.
state required it for a number of years. It is not required, well, let me back up. Don't quote me, probably in the 16, 17-ish range. They said that every student had to take the Constitution test in order to be eligible to graduate and pass it, but you couldn't withhold graduation for not passing it. Okay? So, we do utilize that throughout the civics course, and so they are familiarized with it, but to say that they have to pass it in order to graduate, the answer
So
would be
it's
no.
part of the curriculum, but there's no mandate.
Correct.
And then I had a question on the phone policy looks good, and I think the key is enforcement, you know, and did everything go pretty good on the enforcement last year?
I am going to say that things went much better. There's kind of a little bit of a fine line there. And what I mean by that is we talked about having phones either in the pockets that are in every classroom or in their locker. I 100% know that there were kids who had phones in their pockets, 100%. With that being said, teachers and collectively saw a much, there's hardly any phones that were seen during class. I'm not gonna say that there wasn't some here and there. I wasn't saying that Mr. Walsh and I wouldn't walk in and take some, but it was a drastic reduction. And that was one of the things that I did hear in my exit interviews with all of my staff leaving. So, the intent is to get the phones out of the classroom. I think that we were pretty successful in that. Do I think that students had phones in their pockets? Yeah, some of them do, because they say, well, I left it in my locker. Are we gonna,
Okay.
unless we're gonna frisk them and whatever,
I agree.
we're not there. So I would say it was drastically improved. I think there's, we can go even further with it, no doubt, but I thought that the language that we had in there was pretty good.
And I know you allow during passing time and lunch. And the key there is just so they're not taking pictures of another student without permission.
Mhm.
Because that's been the jam a couple of times. And then the bullying policy, again, that looks good, I like it, but it's, as far as the enforcement of that, has that become an issue? Because there's a lot to that.
Mhm.
When you go through that, if this happens, that happens, and so on down the line. Is it pretty clear to the students? And I know you can't.
I mean, it's one of those things, I would like to say yes, but I always know that there's learning that has to take place that goes with it as well. There's definitely been times where I've had to pull students into my office and say, this is the definition of bullying. This is retaliation, which is another form of bullying. And so you definitely have to educate at times, but no, there's times where John and I both have to, go through it and just work through what is the process and where do we feel like it falls in that particular situation based on the information that's given to us.
And under the dress and appearance, if a student comes, because I noticed some indication about, things that might offend others. If a student were to come to school with a Thrivent Christian shirt or a shirt from a church that they go to, that's not considered any kind of problem.
Not at all.
Um,
And, we drew the line and you may have seen them. There was some shirts that were made about me. It was Bowler 2020. And we used this exact reference of as long as there's nothing negative written in there or vulgar language, there's nothing that, obviously we're coming up on another political season here.
Sure.
And so there's nothing that says that they can't wear it as long as it's not vulgar or puts down somebody else.
And then on the page 25 with the behavior matrix, like physical assault and sexual assault, I noticed on the first.
We'll get there. There we go.
All right, if you see there, the first offense for physical assault is a 3-day in-school suspension. I almost think that's that's too light. And I don't know how we could get after this and amend some things, but I think if somebody physically goes after somebody, I think the first offense should include an out-of-school suspension, personally, just from the standpoint of that would clearly get a message across. Because some kids, I don't think they mind if they have an in-school suspension, right?
Well, and I think that you have to be a little bit careful there too, because there's a lot of kids that don't mind out of school either.
Okay.
And because once they go home, there's nothing that, they don't have any rule that, if they are in school, they have guidelines that are set for them. And I'm not saying that there aren't clear places for out-of-school suspensions. I have out-of-school suspended students, if they've gotten into a physical altercation, it's, you're out the door, type of thing. And it's meant to be a guideline, and, to what degree does the situation, I guess, dictate.
Well, I can understand if there's a pushing by two guys that are just getting into it a little bit, no big deal, but if somebody just out and out throws a punch in a cafeteria or something, that would be addressed on an individual basis. And then the sexual assault part two, I see that, just a 3-day in-school suspension, again, the same thing, it just seems too light, just.
There has to be leeway, because what if the punch is being thrown because the child is being bullied?
Well, that's where, where you have to
What-
do investigation.
Right, exactly.
And I would say that's, one of the things up here in kind of the paragraph ahead of time is it does go in and it talks about case-by-case basis. There can be more severe consequences to multiple offenses or when it's deemed appropriate to. So it's meant to be kind of like a starting point per se, and then obviously we adjust from there based on the situation. So.
That's pretty much it. I don't know if anybody else has any concerns on it, or John, if you've been involved the last year on it, do you think those would it help to amend any of those or review it in the next 6 months? Approve this, but then move on and see if something has to be worked over.
Well, I think it's good to always be open-minded to amend that matrix. Your points are very valid with, it's tough to have three columns that work for every situation. It's a big discussion.
Well, the key is you guys work with it. As long as it works, that's good. But once it goes beyond, it's not really working, and they use that as a tool against the school. No, you can't suspend me because that's not in the first level.
No, and that's why it distinctly says in there that we have the right to, look at things on a case-by-case basis. So to give you a little background, this matrix was created by a group of us probably 3 years ago, I want to say. And definitely after the first year, we realized we have to do some major tweaks. So some pretty major tweaks took place after that first year. And we're like, wow, this is really light. This is really, really harsh. And so we have adjusted it a little bit, especially early on. But I guess there wasn't a lot, I guess, was changed in this year. So there wasn't anything changed in that portion of it. So.
One more question. How about the least favorite word that I've mentioned a few times at board meetings, or let me get pretty tougher on that?
Language is one of our number one things across the board. Yep. And John and I have been talking about that for months. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, John. Hastings, I won't hold it against you, but they got lucky in one state title there 2 years ago. That might happen once in 1,000 years, but it did that. I didn't know you grinning like a Cheshire cat.
No luck there.
They earned it. So that was good.
Okay, anything else on that consent agenda?
Where are all these teachers? Are they elementary, high school, middle school,
Which
for the
ones?
tenure?
Mitchell Bechtel would be high school, social studies. Aaron Spencer would be high school social studies as well. Those are the two from my building. Aaron taught 17 years in Lewiston, Altura, and then family moved to La Crescent, joined us. It's been a great addition, and I've seen Mitchell Bechtel who just finished his third year, one at middle school, two at high school. So the other would be,
Megan Sager is our special education teacher. She's done 3 years. She's fantastic. And Jill Plecker, she's also our special education teacher, early childhood special ed, and she's fantastic as well. And she has many years of experience. So in Minnesota, you just have to serve 1 year to get tenure.
After you've been tenured in another district. Yep.
and Rachel Nielsen.
And Rachel Nelson, same thing. She has been tenured in another district, so she's as well.
Okay, anything else?
I'll move to,
Okay, Dan moves the consent agenda. Lee seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. On to action items. Action item A is the staffing. That would be the discontinuing the K through 12 Dean of Students position.
So moved.
Spencer moves it.
second.
Dan seconds. Stand by.
I know I'm kind of the odd man out, but I don't like the fact that we're getting rid of the dean position, but I'm just one guy. John could probably make more comments on that than I can, but I thought it was a good move to get a dean in, and I know it's not an inexpensive move. I just think we're taking a step backwards as far as discipline goes, because I think more is going to fall on the principals. I know you've got a lot of experience, so stepping into grade school won't be an issue, but you're coming into grade school. I think most of our discipline is probably in high school. And I know it puts more pressure on you through the school year, and probably have to rely more on the counselor, council positions to help a little bit, I suppose. Because I know your time the first year that I was on the board, you were doing investigations all the time on the matrix we were just talking about. So I do think it's a step back for the school district, but I understand there's reasons you have to do things.
I agree, and that would be one of my questions, like, with how is the discipline, or what you've been doing, how's that gonna be dispersed? Like, who's gonna handle some of that stuff? Which I know leads into something that you wanna say.
There's the new legislative funds that's called Student Support Personnel Aid, but it only covers for school licensed counselors, social workers, psychologists, nurse. And so there was an advertisement sent out for that. If we don't spend it on those particular things, we lose the funding. And right now we get 40,000, the HVAC gets the other 40,000. We didn't spend it in 23-24, so it's getting carried over to 24-25. The legislation this session allows the carryover, but you have to spend it within that year. So the idea, I think, is that position to kind of help out in the area of what the students have taken.
So that's more of a counselor position? Like,
It has to be a school licensed counselor,
Okay.
a school licensed social worker, or a school licensed psychologist.
we don't have that person, but it's one that I saw the
We have to, it has to be a
emails.
new position, and it has to be added.
Okay.
In order to get that funding, so 40,000 times 2 is 80,000.
But 40 of it goes to HVAC?
Currently, so HFED will claim this for 23-24, because we can't reserve their funds, but we can reserve our 40. HFED will use it for the site we get to them, so we can pay them less. So we,
Okay.
in
So
roundabout ways.
does HVAC get that 40,000 from every school district in the
Yes.
HVAC program?
Yes,
So you add that up, and that's a lot of money for,
correct, and they hired 2 or 3 new people this year, and they had a meeting last week to find out who wants to keep the HVAC money in for last year, and who are they gonna spend it for us? So it'll lessen our bill of what we pay to them. But then moving forward, after the next year, we'll want their 40 and our 40, but then it ramps up, I believe, the amount of money we get. It won't be limited to 80, it'll go up from there. So we don't wanna leave that money.
So if we don't find a person,
You have to,
then that,
if you don't have two qualified candidates, you can contract out for services. But you first have to place the ad, get a qualified person.
I just thought I'd bring that up, Mike, I don't know if anybody else, other than Lee's got some concerns.
We had the same concerns, you know, I mean, it's not saying you eliminate it forever, I mean, maybe it needs to come back at some point. John's done a fantastic job for the first couple of years on that, and it seems like we've seen a lot of progress in that department, and, you know, I don't know, maybe it is something that needs to be you know, put it this way, I'm not against bringing it back someday if the need arises again, I guess.
I think a lot of the big behaviors, like we talked about the sector admin meeting, a lot of the big behaviors have moved out of the district, so I think that has freed up. But at our admin meeting too, we also talked about at the elementary, we do a lot of social work, so I think a lot of this is the breakdown between the school and the home. And if you can get the parents on board, and if you can have the parents form a united front with the school, that would definitely help the behaviors, because parents are a big part of, you know, the students' lives. So, I mean, we can do, like Nathan was saying, we can do a lot here with suspensions and things like that, but it's really the parents, you know, if the parents aren't supporting the school, then it's not as effective.
One of the things, I can't remember what number when I talked to you last, but we went through some DERS data at our last strategic planning, and I think there was 280 incidents that required suspension over the last 5 years. And so then we started breaking it down of like, how many of those students are, you know, still in our school district, and how many have, you know, moved on. And obviously in 5 years, you're gonna have kids who are naturally going to graduate.
We don't.
We hope. But we also did look at the number of students who would not be at graduation age that are not in our district anymore for various reasons, whether it's moving on to a level 4 program, whether it's, you know, they moved away or so. And I would say it was a significant, you know, number. I mean, especially for some. So I forget what I said. I say 120 or 160 of them don't go to school here anymore. Either they graduated or are no longer in our district. So
I know Craig's not here for input on this kind of discussion, but say there's an issue going on at the school, at the high school, and I know, John, you're here. I don't know how involved Craig got in some of these, you know, the fights, some of the things that happened. I would hope that it would be, kind of help to do an investigation.
absolutely. Yep. Craig's been really good about, if I call him up and say, I need you up here now, he'll drop everything and come. So. And, you know, we can do that even between principals too. I mean, we're still hold an administrative license, even if I'm not the K-5 principal. I can come down and act in that role, especially if people are gone. And, you know, there are times where we only have one administrator in the district, and so we're on call. So.
All right, any other discussion on that? So we haven't, so that was moved by Spencer and seconded by Dan, I think. Does that sound right? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no.
No,
The motion carries 6-1. Bread products, staffing changes. This would be to approve the hiring of John Wallstrom as the elementary principal. Okay, Derek moves that one.
I would second.
All right, Tim seconds that one. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, that carries 7-0. Okay. Action item C would be the Brent products. Is this bid from the Pan of Gold?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so bid from Pan of Gold for the 2024-25 school year as follows. I'll move it.
Second.
Derek seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That one carries 7-0. Dairy products. Anybody want to move it? Melissa moves it.
Second.
Dan seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0, and then the fuel bids from Quick Trip. Okay, Spencer moves it.
Second.
Tim seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. And then action item F would be the adoption of the 2024-25 school year budget. Any discussion or questions on that?
We had a finance meeting to go over this, and I sent out to the board, and then also sent out our fund balance amounts, and what we're looking, how we wanna look going forward as far as going out for referendum. So again, this is just a budget, it's our best estimate of what we predict will happen, and we'll have a revised budget again in March. To see how it's comparing and adjust the budget again accordingly.
Do you think there'll be any feedback on some of the fees going up for different programs? I know in the early childhood development, there's some fee increases I noticed, and then
We've always,
is that gonna be accepted, you think? And
well, we always hear things about, well, we're going up in other places, but we've always kind of wanted to do small incremental increases instead of keeping on the same and then having to make big jumps in with the price of everything from the grocery store to the gas station. We're seeing, and settlements and contracts. We have to gradually keep raising those up. We're always looking for additional avenues of generating more revenue outside of fees.
how does it compare to other, whether they be public or private, early childhood development kind of programs? How did they compare to like
We were
Crescent
actually
or Oka or?
low.
We're pretty dead even with the Crescent's public school preschool program. I don't know, well, as of this past school year, I don't know if they're planning to increase their prices for this coming year.
Okay.
And
When we look for Southeast Minnesota,
yeah,
child
we're,
aware.
yes, we're low compared to Southeast Minnesota, like the whole area in general. And at this point, I haven't heard, I've heard from one parent in the daycare, preschool, SAC, all that stuff. I've heard from one parent with the price increases, so.
Because that kicks in July 1st. Is that-
And that's one thing, when Craig and I talked, we asked, ISG is doing the study, is asking community members that be part of the survey, how much they value the daycare, how much are they willing to pay or supplement, the community supplement a school center and daycare. So we know the feelings in the community, kind of like the one-to-one program, what is the feeling? K to 12, do we go back to 3 or 4 or 5 to 12? Some of those things need to be in that survey to find out what is the community.
Can I ask a question about our community, Levy versus Houston, Spring Grove, Crescent? How do we compare?
The Spring Grove is higher than us. But remember, part of our levy is going out for a referendum, but part of it isn't even that, it's just the general operating capital or the long-term facility maintenance or the unemployment and all those other categories that are levied even outside of a vote for a referendum. And we've talked about the debt as one of the biggest part of our levies right now, when that drops off in 2029. Would we want to go out for continuing referendum? So see a decrease, but we don't want it to drop so low and going out because we need new roofs or we need new heat pumps. is gonna be a bigger burden on taxpayers.
We talked last month about the future expenses for repairs and just it might be important for the community to know, you know, how is their levy versus other communities that have a similar overall picture in terms of the community, employment, other economics, so that we could, if we may have to justify an increase down the line.
Oh, yeah, and that's why we're doing the study and everything to justify. But you'd like to see a
It
comparison.
might be good to have a comparison to show that we're at least in line or lower. It would be important, especially if we ask for an increase.
I mean, understand the levy.
They're broken down. I know in my last district when we went out, they broke down all the local schools in a PPU or per pupil unit and how much was the taxpayer paying per student, or, you know, as a whole. And so then you could, yeah, this school was paying $1,300 a student and this school was paying $600 a student. And it's really interesting when you break it down that way. So it's definitely possible to do.
You know, I know that we've lost some students through the years, and I know Wisconsin has a voucher program now. And I've heard there's talk in Minnesota to do a voucher program. Have you guys heard anything on that, or?
There hasn't been
anything
any updates as far as I've heard on the legislature. That's one, that doesn't mean it can't come up this next one.
Right.
But no one's been discussing it, and talking about all these other new funding sources right now, trying to figure that out.
Because I know like lacrosse school system has lost so many students, and some of them were from the voucher. When the money follows the student, you know, parents, you know, after some of the COVID things going on, some parents just pulled their kids and went to private school.
When I was at the middle school meeting in Rochester, there happened to be a Wisconsin business manager there that I thought was interesting, but she was representing the National Association. And she said in Wisconsin, we get a majority of our revenue from aid from the state. They, it's mostly local. So I thought that was interesting in how they run their schools, and they're not union. So it's totally different how they run Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is not union as far as teachers.
They, no,
It's like 2012 or something,
I thought they would have brought it back, you know, under Governor Evers or something, but it hasn't happened yet.
So are they considered state employees? Or what are they considered?
Just,
They'd still be district.
they're still a,
Right to work.
yeah, it's just that they're not unionized and they don't have like Ed Minnesota organization that they go through.
Some schools are still unionized if that was agreed upon, but it's not
Oh,
all of them.
so you'll see food service also has a negative. Right now, you're allowed to have 6 months of expenditures in food service, but they're gonna go back to the 3 months. So we do actually need to, start spending that fund balance down. Community ed, this is where we're still trying to work our way out of the daycare and how are we gonna keep that sustainable. You also see debt service is negative as well. We've gotten 5 years of the maximum effort loan that's sitting in our fund balance. Now our payments are more than what we're getting in revenue on that income expense statement, but it's still sitting over in our savings account on the fund balance side. And this is just looking at your incomes and revenue. And I sent you the fund balances separately, which is basically I look at as our savings account.
And then the negotiations aren't done with the paraprofessionals yet, right?
Yeah, it's done.
Is that going pretty well? I mean,
It was, I don't know, it was new to me. I thought it took longer than it should have, but I think it went all right.
Yeah, it took a while.
as far as all the terms and pay is kind of sorting out okay?
Yeah.
Everybody good on the, action item F, the adoption of the budget? Right, but everybody good
I'll
with
move it.
discussion? All right, Dan moves it, we got a second? I'll second it, oh, Melissa seconded it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. All right, so action item G would be the resolution establishing, dates for filing affidavits of candidacy.
So move.
All right, Spencer moves it,
Second.
Barrett seconds it. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. And then H is the, resolution requiring the tally of write-in votes only if the write-in votes are greater than a ballot candidate's total votes. Derek moves it. Lee seconds it. If anybody has questions, they can talk to Karen about it. She has a good explanation of why they're doing it that way now. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. And we're down to administrative reports. Sue?
Okay, yeah, so this will be my last school board update. I just started out talking about our special ed summer school. We have a lot of moving parts to this with transportation and different dates. I just included that because that took up a lion's share of June for sure for me, for me too. But I think everything is under control and we seem to be having everybody covered. We did finish our Title I and Title II grant application and it has been submitted. Greg forwarded it, so it's like it is signed, sealed, and delivered. So it was due July 1st, but it's all completed. So thank you to Barb and Lindsay and everyone that helped with that. We will be hiring some additional paraprofessionals, so I kind of started that, but now that John is taking over at the helm, he will continue with that. Last year, we did struggle with some pair absences, so we're just gonna make sure that we're gonna tighten up on that and improve our attendance. Also, we are going to be hiring a new resource person in our media center, and so previously, Mrs. Ryan and Mr. Schaller shared that position, but now we are going to go with just one full-time person in that position. It worked well for them, but moving forward, we will have one person. Our local literacy plan, hopefully everyone had a chance to look at that, previously known as Read Well by Third Grade. It has been completed and will be posted on our website pending board approval. Greg did want us to wait until the board had a chance to look at it, so we didn't post it before it met board approval. So if anyone has questions, let me know, otherwise it will get posted. Next year, we are going to be doing a lot of our professional development during our PLCs. That too, moving forward, John will be working with that, but we're going to have to make sure that we have enough PLC time for the teachers to do their core reading. And then everything else kind of talks about what, our awards of fifth grade, the Kindergarten Academy. Stephanie Fingerson, a previous kindergarten teacher, has taken a new job in Grand Meadows, so we wish her the very best. Summer Success started today. And last but not least, it has been a sincere honor. I'm very humbled to have served the Caledonia area schools. I'm sincerely grateful to have worked with such amazing students, parents, teachers, staff, board members, and to be a part of this community. So thank you very much. It hasn't really quite hit me. Everyone's like, how does it feel? And it's like, I don't know. It doesn't feel any different at this point, but at some point I'm sure I'll be like, what just happened? So thank you.
Well, thank you, Sue. If we'd been thinking we'd have brought flowers or cupcakes or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for your years of service and thank you for your willingness to stay on the strategic planning committee and help out with that. That will be a huge benefit to us, so. Okay, excellent. One random thing, are these eyes supposed to move when people talk? They don't? No. Oh, okay, all right, because it's been staring at me the whole time. Okay, so that was Sue. Mr. Bowler.
All right. Hopefully everybody had a chance to read my report, but obviously we finished off the school year strong. We had to reschedule the senior awards night, and graduation was a lot of fun. And so I think that the end of the school year went really well. I did do some checkout meetings with all of my staff, just to kind of give me a little bit of direction for, what things need to bump to the top of the priority list for the summer. So that was really good to get some input from them. I talked a little bit about the strategic planning committee that we met about, and I have some more work to do, breaking down some of that. Otherwise, I think pretty much the wrap on the school year is complete. Report cards are gone home. Schedules have been mailed home, so everybody should have those. Obviously, there's going to be changes come fall. We're still learning about new opportunities. Even I went to a BCC meeting, that's Bluff Country Collaborative, last week on Thursday in Rushford, and even learned about some more opportunities that we can get out to our students. So expect some changes there. I also mentioned the Redefining Ready. It might have been before the meeting actually, but some of the work that we're doing there. And then really a lot of it comes down to summer school. We're in week 2, so that'll be done on Friday. Remember, there's no summer school on Wednesday because of Juneteenth, but our 2 weeks of summer school is completed, and then it's really just a lot of odds and ends that people don't really think about or don't even realize happen, whether it's out of field permissions, creating para schedules. We met today as staff development, started working on back to school in-service schedule already. And so there's just a lot of those things that kind of fall on your plate, I guess, in the summertime that keep you busy. So that's what I'm up to.
Thank you, Nate. John?
Yeah, the only thing the last couple of weeks, been working here at the elementary. Sue and I have been working on transition items. A lot of those items that are on Sue's board report have begun taking over. A side note, I appreciate the opportunity, and this district has fostered my professional growth since the day I got here. So I am incredibly grateful and also humble for this opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Is there a strategic planning meeting on the docket that do we have another one scheduled yet or not? Do you anybody know what that is?
I don't know if we put one on the calendar at the end of the meeting, but we should
All right.
do that right after this.
I'll go before the end of the day. We'll try to get something on there.
Yep.
Is that cool?
Yep.
All right, thank you, John. Gretchen?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot. Summer slows down a little bit for me, but I get a chance to, be in the daycare and SAC on the day-to-day, and it's always fun to be more part of the programs in the summer. Learn a lot and have a little more fun. But Barb and I have been really working on the budget for next year and figuring out how we can save and what we need to do to get us in a good spot. T-ball Pee-wees has our highest number of participants we've ever had at 189. So it's a very exciting summer for that. And then just, John and I haven't really met yet, but making a list of different testing responsibilities for him, and then for Nicole and Brent, we're going to take over the ACT test. And yeah.
All right, thank you, Gretchen. So Nicole and Nicole Ott and Brett are taking the ACT stuff? And then you take the rest of the testing stuff? Okay. All right, we've all had an opportunity to read Craig's board report. Any discussion on that or questions? All right, Barb?
Yeah, I have a board report. I failed to just forget to put it in.
That's all right. You can listen.
And I failed to look at the agenda and make sure it was in. So we went over a little bit of the budget. So if you ever have questions on that, please contact me. Career Tech Ed estimates have been in first part of June and most have been submitted. So that puts it on the levy system for us to do when we do post levy in September. Perkins information, I'm still working on. Some of it's been submitted. And working on some transportation stuff with Tracy, make sure we don't leave any money on the table. Attended the Region 5 year-end session, how we're closing out 23-24 and how we're gonna start 24-25. I was in a Masville meeting this afternoon and they're still gonna get back to us with more information on how all of this is gonna work even for 23-24. So, we're still a work in progress. The My School Bucks credit card payment stuff will go live for sure, at the start of the new school year. And that information will go out in the school newsletter this fall for parents to be able to utilize. Some of our employment requests are coming in, and Karen gets the joy of opening the mail on that and filling those out. So we've been submitting information. One of the points to make is right now we get reimbursed for the unemployment because of the state surplus. But they were talking today that they're projecting that to run out between 25 and 26. And in legislation, it says the district's responsible, but we can't levy for it, so then it'll be a cost to our general fund. So we will all need to write our legislators, and that's encouraged, to let them know what effect that will have on all of our districts. Rich was awarded the summer grant, it's a 2-year grant, and so that the funding of the $39,851 is split between the 2 years, and the district contributes half of whatever's spent, and the award covers the other half. We've had a lot of discussion on special ed pairs and that they need to be highly qualified for 24-25. They're still, they keep talking about some wiggle room in legislation, but we really need to be pushing our pairs to be highly qualified. And that means either taking the pair pro or para educator, having the 60 credits or having an associate's degree. Because if they're not, then I can't put them in for special ed reimbursement. And they're just, the whole thing is an expense of the general fund. So we really want special ed pairs to have a qualification. I know I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. This is the last year for the summer food service program. Unfortunately, that we've used up our 5 years that they give you going forward for not qualifying. And we looked at every avenue possible, but I would encourage all parents and guardians to fill out those applications for educational benefits, because those are the things that get us qualified again. Even if we can't do it on census, people don't do that because they already get free breakfast and free lunch because of the new legislation. But those applications affect their title funding. If we look at the budget, we lost over $60,000 for Title I, because we don't have the numbers of free and reduced that we had before. So we'll be pushing those applications and they'll go out in our phone newsletter as well. So
Can that be something we put any kind of well-worded blurb in the newspaper to get people to,
fill them out.
yeah.
I
I mean, if they don't know about it, they wouldn't.
Last year I worked with Rachel from food service and said, who hasn't sent theirs in yet? And prompting them, emailing them, calling them to get their applications, some did, some didn't.
So if enough applications come in, then it could kick into next summer?
Potentially, I don't
Okay.
know, we contacted the state. We first qualified based on census, which meant that we had enough free and reduced around this location, because we could only serve it out of elementary, not the middle school, high school. And because when we had the plumbing issue, I was concerned if we had to shut this down, then they would give an exception to move it out to the middle school, high school. We didn't have to do. But we haven't qualified again based on census. There's Seamless Summer Option is another summer program. It works a little different, but applications and these types of things would help. But all the districts in Minnesota are having the same issue with some of us filling them out because they're already free. Why do we need to go through that effort?
Can that go, the beginning of the year when you have to fill out all the forms? Can that be part of that?
It is part of it right now. So they get them, they just need to fill them out and get them to us. But like Barb said, if you're getting them for free.
Can you say it was getting sent out with the?
It's in the school newsletter, the fall newsletter, all that information, and they fill them out online. They can request a paper copy if they want one, and I had a couple do that, but I literally had 4 applications last year.
I was thinking that online one, when I go to update, again, I have to go through the tabs to update, can it be in there? That you have to the user have to complete it?
You mean
Looking
like
at Barb.
registration?
Like basically, students at the middle school, high school have to, they have to read and sign off on the handbook, they have to have the internet acceptable use, and they have to have that. Basically, you're saying, do you make that just a requirement? They're not gonna get their device until that's also filled out.
Don't really, if someone say, I know I'm not gonna qualify, so I'm not gonna. No, but, no, I mean, the online version, it walks you right through, it says, what's your income, how often is it paid, what's someone else in the household's income, how much do they get paid, how many other members are in your household, and what school they attend, if it's elementary, middle school, high school, or they're not even in school yet. So the calculation is based off of your income and how many household members, and they don't even have to be family members. It's living together, sharing the same household.
Right, so
It's sensitive data for many people. It's sensitive for many people. We have a situation in medicine where patients will qualify for free drugs, but will not put in the data because it's sensitive. They don't want other people
To know
know
that.
it. There are substitutes for it, such as Medicaid
Yeah,
numbers.
the direct certified payment, but the Medicaid reduced isn't as, this is the first trial year for Medicaid reduced and Medicaid free. And so we had quite a number of those qualify. But we lost some foster kids and homeless kids are some of the ones that automatically get qualified for the homeless liaison. Fills out the paperwork for that, and our councils have done those. So whether we want to mandate them doing it in new registration,
How would we know if they did? That's my only other question, like, when we send out the stuff about like handbooks, things like that, like it all funnels into a spreadsheet and we're like, yep, Grant King, he's good. But how would I know if you filled it out? I think
and that
there's just some questions I would need to know more about before I can answer that.
it's confidential, so nobody's supposed to know. So if I were to share this with even Gretchen, I have to have her fill out a waiver that says, and I need a form back from the parent that says, yeah, I'm okay with you sharing that if I want tuition assistance for preschool, or I want assistance with the milk break program. Because having it in new registration, people might worry that there's sensitive information could get out there. And
But then
we
that's.
try to keep it very private.
Say, yes, you can share, no, you cannot, which locks it down. I don't know how that works out. Yeah. I don't have a solution for it, it's just an idea.
No, and we've talked about that. I've never heard of a school doing it online. 10 years ago, I've heard of schools that, you had to physically turn in the paper copy.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would work.
Well, we've done the online application for years, and then listed out in the fall newsletter how to go on and do it.
Or is there a device, like when they get their device, like, hey, we need you to complete this first before we can give you the device?
I don't think we can do that.
No.
No, and I do know, like, over at the elementary, Cindy encourages families.
She's actually called.
And,
How many
But
kids,
like Barb says, it's like you're getting free lunch anyway, so why would you?
But I think it's just lack of education of understanding that them not filling it out actually hurts the school. So that now they're not going to have that option of the free, or like the summer program next summer or whatever, because they didn't fill it out.
how many kids are
Last
using
year.
it this year so far? On a daily basis, it's kicked off about a week ago, right? Pardon?
Oh.
So we have a lot of people.
The summer-
but That's not, they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
qualify, anybody can come to it.
Right, but how many
I
kids are coming to it now?
think Rachel's like 150.
150?
for
I
lunch.
have, Janice said for breakfast, she's around like 80, and then for lunch, she's close to 200 a day,
Most every day.
including like the daycare and staff kids will be here.
I think it grows every year, so when it's taken away, I think people.
So that's why
They'll be shouting next year, but,
like, we're putting signs up so parents know when they're bringing their kids.
Okay.
This is the last year.
well, there you got a
You want
captive
us-
audience, maybe we can kind of.
Right, so I'm like, we need to we hammer get the message out, this is the last summer,
Yeah.
and hopefully that will encourage them to fill out the
Sure.
application this fall. So, we keep working on it.
Mhm.
Also with Kindergarten Academy, this will also be the last summer for that. Funding, we've been using COVID funds for that. And we've talked about a lot of the students that attended are also in our preschool, so they're already pretty familiar with the district. They're just moving from preschool to kindergarten. I talked about this before with the counselor and social worker, the student support personnel aide, working with HFID on that. And districts are kind of all over the board of what they're hiring as far as the position. There's a new division in the Department of Employment and Economic Development that's starting to draft rules for the new Minnesota Paid Family Medical Leave program that's going to go into effect January 1st, 2026. So there'll be more to come on that, that'll be a new tax for the district and for employees, and I don't even know the details of when someone's taking a leave. Of if they first have to use up the district sick time before they can tap into the state's family medical leave program. So there's a lot to learn and procedures to be developed on the state's end for that. We've been attending admin meetings, insurance meetings, and ASCO meetings. Our insurance, I think we've talked about before, those are some of the things that they don't want to cover anymore. A good rate is 20% increase. That's what I budgeted. I have to be in contact with Marsh McClellan in the next couple of weeks to start filling out the paperwork. Our renewal is in October, middle of October. Hopefully, one of the better district rates than what we've been seeing, so. Workers' comp, our experience rate is below the 1.0, so hopefully that'll keep that level as well for premiums. Any questions for me?
All right, thank you, Barb. Old business, strategic planning update. Do you have anything on that you want to share? Your dad or anything like that?
Not really, outside the fact that, I mean, our discussion was good, identifying trends we see and stuff like that, but for me, none of the data really surprised me too much. I don't know if anybody else on the committee wants to speak on something that jumped out at them that they, maybe weren't expecting.
I guess it's just a matter of figuring out what to do with the data. That's the challenge, of course, I wonder if we shouldn't, because it seems like just a small group of us are involved in that on the committee. I wonder if we shouldn't try to have a summary or something to send to everybody so everybody has visibility on it, because otherwise, they don't know what's going on there. So how about this? Moving forward, like after the strategic planning committee meetings, we'll send out a little update to the rest of the board so you guys have visibility on all that and understand like where we're headed and what we've been doing, so everybody's in the loop. How does that sound? All right, and then this second piece on that is, let's get another meeting on the books, if that is okay with everybody. So what are we thinking here? Any ideas? Is this week too early? What do
It
you
would
got
have to be
going on?
tomorrow.
What's
It
that?
would have to be tomorrow, or I'll be gone the rest of the week.
Where are you going, fishing? Oh, everybody's going fishing. All right, can you do that, Lee?
Unless it's after 12:30.
Well, Craig won't be here though. Can we send one of those invites out, like, and somebody, would you mind doing that?
What's the theme of this next meeting?
Well,
What we've been doing is whatever one we're doing, that person organizes it.
Well, we're gonna need to figure out whether or not Sue's gonna continue on as leading the charge on her goal, or if we're gonna give that to somebody else and Sue's acting as an advisor. I don't know how that's all gonna work. Do you have any opinion on that, Sue?
I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah,
So I'm serving like as a community member, so I don't
Suppose
really
you
have
can't,
access
yeah.
to the staff like I do. So
Yeah.
that may, I would have to connect with the staff, I guess, because mine was like the involvement with the, so going out and,
yeah, community involvement
Yeah.
stuff. So maybe,
I didn't have the community side, but I mean, I could do the teachers, but I just don't want to, you know. I guess I could connect with the teachers and do all of that in the grade levels, but I just don't want to overstep my bounds or, I just want to make sure that people know that John is in a leadership position, so they start looking to him
Right.
instead of to me maybe.
well, maybe that's stuff we can, that will be one thing we'll figure out at the next meeting. And we'll send out a meeting invite.
For
Maybe
what week? To
when
narrow
we
it
get
down.
back from, so
I'll be,
Greg will be back pretty soon here, I assume.
yeah, I mean, I can do Monday, Tuesday, the following week. Otherwise, the week of July 8th. I shouldn't say that. I'll be around the week of July 1st.
Are you around the 22nd through the 26th?
I am around the 24th and 25th.
24th and 25th. Should we try to shoot for something there?
Yep.
Okay. Alright, so anyway.
Should we just do Monday?
Well, wait a minute, am I on the wrong, maybe I'm on the wrong month, I'm sorry. I thought that was a Thursday. Okay,
No,
so
Monday.
Monday the 24th?
I'm wide open.
Are you around Monday the 24th, Sue?
You guys can meet without me. I just want to take a little break and we are going to the North Shore
Oh.
next week. So,
You deserve a little break.
yeah. I just want to catch my breath.
Alright, let's shoot for Monday for now. If we gotta tweak it, we'll tweak it. How about
What time?
3 o'clock.
Okay.
Does that work? Does that work? Alright, so moving forward, we will commit to sending out updates and keeping everybody better informed of the goings-ons. And our next meeting will be the 24th of June at 3 o'clock, pending any changes. Okay. Anything else on that? New business items, nothing. School board reports. Melissa, you got anything?
I don't.
Tim? Spencer?
Yeah, I got a few items. The HBED, we had a meeting here last Thursday or Wednesday. A lot of belly aching, and my good friend John Alexander, the landlord, he left. They claimed it was left as a mess, a lot of stuff there, and I don't know. I've got to check to see if it was in the contract. That they weren't out by a certain date. Obviously, the tenants, a lot of them stayed over there in the annex over in the east addition there, the barbecue place and others. But yeah, they were upset, and they were upset he took the wrestling mat, so they started in on me there. And I basically was so frustrated. I'm pretty much going to tell them the next time, you don't want to upset John or his dad, who was a college wrestler. They were state Greco champs. So actually, I think John bought the mats for me, so they were his. He should have taken them, but it might have been something in the contract where they had to be out, and if the stuff wasn't out, it became their property. So I'll find more and update you on that. But otherwise, I'd like to obviously congratulate Sue on her retirement, and I sure enjoyed working for her as a substitute teacher. Even if she was blessed having a student teacher, it was a well-oiled machine every day. So I think we deserve to give her a big round of applause. And I know, like I said, when I stubbed her, she was one of the best and stuff. And I did want to mention this because obviously with counseling and stuff, you people are always on enrollments and trying to get people to go to college or tech or whatever. I went to Winona State Social the other night and I talked to the president and I asked him point blank, I said, how are you doing on your enrollment this year? This is the first time in 11 years, and it was only 1.1% positive improvement. They've had 11-year decline, so thought some of that might be interesting. Yeah, that's pretty much it, so.
Thank you, Spencer. Dan?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, to Sue, appreciate all the work that you've done, and I wish you the best in retirement, and John, welcome aboard. Thank you. Working with him.
Thank you, Dan. Lee?
Same, thank you for your years of service and congratulations and welcome.
Eric?
Same thing, but we did finish the support staff stuff, so that should be finalized, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, the fourth to vote, the union to vote on.
Yeah, I think that's the only
I
thing
think it's
that's,
planning for July,
Okay.
board meeting in July.
Union votes and then it gets on the meeting, okay.
yeah, when that's done, hopefully.
Okay,
I have one question.
Yeah.
Weren't we supposed to have HVAC? Or when are they having?
she couldn't make it tonight, so they bumped it.
July?
I believe it's July. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'd like to also, again, thank Sue for, everything you've done over the last 37 years and best of luck and best wishes in your retirement and so forth. The teacher surveys, there was a teacher survey a while back, right? Wasn't there a teacher survey?
Yep.
So when do we get, do you guys have any idea when we get access to that information?
We did look at it at a strategic plan meeting. It was one that very few people came to. Remember, it was just admin to.
Oh, really?
Because just by chance, nobody else could make it, so
Okay.
we should revisit it, because we have the results and everything.
Okay, how about we add that to the agenda,
Sure.
the next one, and everybody should have, all the board members should see that, not just the people on the strategic planning committee, so that'll be one of the things we distribute to everybody after that meeting. That's distributable stuff, isn't it? I mean,
It prints out.
okay, yeah, all right, yeah. The superintendent evaluation originally was scheduled for June, but Craig's fishing, so we're gonna have to bump it to July. And I handed everybody a little folder there with a little overview of the process again, just to refresh your memory there. And then the goals that we set for Craig last January, we have an evaluation form to work out. And I don't know if you, like the last time we did it, everybody sent me the evaluation form and then I kind of tried to do my best to compile all the information. I don't know if that's what you all want to do again, or if you'd rather discuss it with, in person with Craig when we do his mid-year or end of year, I guess it would be evaluation. Does anybody have a horse in the race there? Would you rather send it to me and I try to compile it, or would you rather everybody bring their stuff?
I think probably best to compile it, but still have direct input on it. So how is it, you're gonna meet with them then? That was the
So
way you did it
we're all
last
gonna
time?
meet with them. So the last time, the way the MSBA recommends is that you, at a public meeting, you then go into closed session at the end of that meeting to do your superintendent review. Then after the closed session review process is over, you have to reopen the meeting for like a minute to close the meeting in open session, if you will. But the last time, the reason we didn't go into closed session last time is because nobody else was here, or the other people that were here, the administrators left. So there wasn't any point in going into closed session. But, so I guess it's the same thing. If it's just the board and Craig, we don't have to go into closed session. If there's other people here, we will. But regardless, we'll go through the evaluation.
It's all online now.
Pardon me?
Your live
Stream,
stream.
you have to close it. You have to live stream it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll go into closed session. We didn't last time because it wasn't being live streamed and everybody left except the board and Craig. So it wasn't required that we go into closed session. This time, I guess it will be required, come to think of it, because I forgot about the owl there. So anyway, in July, we'll do the meeting and then we'll go into closed session and do the evaluation. I guess the question that I have is, Is everybody okay with, I don't know, filling this thing out and mailing it to me, dropping it off at the house in the mailbox, whatever, and I'll try to compile all the information, and then, you know, I can give it back to you at the meeting and we can go around and discuss each goal.
That's fine.
That works?
Yeah.
Or if you can't, or if you don't wanna mail it, you can scan it maybe and email it to me, or whatever works for you.
Do you have a target date when you want our?
Oh, I don't know, ideally maybe a week before the July meeting, so like if,
Like the 8th?
like the 8th of July would be great.
Mike, could I also add, this was an outstanding soccer coach. I knew her that for years, very highly successful. I'm gonna give her another hand.
All right. So that's the plan as far as the superintendent evaluation process. Any questions on that? Okay, and then the other little thing I put in your folder, I thought this was kind of interesting. I don't know if the rest of you have here. I'm just gonna hand them out. I don't know. I thought this was kind of cool. You guys want one of these?
Sure.
Yeah, that might.
Yeah.
Here, the strategic plan.
Yeah.
Trying to do
3 o'clock is hard. Later is better.
I can go whenever, five too late.
5 would be perfect.
Is that too late for you guys?
I'll double check to make sure. I should be able to make it.
You can put it on. They're talking about the strategic planning meeting.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I got you.
5 p.m. This document here, I just, Dan had emailed me after the Argus came out with the, you know, all the graduates say what they're doing after high school and stuff. And, he noticed the same thing I noticed there, which was that we had, a lot of undecided, about 26% of our kids are undecided leaving high school. And so I was like, I don't know, maybe that's standard. So that I went to the Argus this morning, and helpful lady in there helped me dig through some old stuff and find some old papers from way back when, and I just compiled the information here. And the graph there at the bottom shows the percentage of kids over those years listed. So I don't have every year, obviously, but what's happened as far as moving on to 4-year degrees versus tech schools, and you notice the drop in the 4-year college. It's kind of interesting. That's probably just happening nationwide. I don't know. But the thing that really caught my eye there was the undecideds in 21 and 2024. You know, we've got 1 out of 4 kids that are undecided leaving school. And, you know, I don't know. It seemed concerning to me. Not everybody's going to know what they're going to do for the rest of their life, obviously, but at least they should be leaving with some sort of a plan, whether it's work or tech school, or have a plan of some sort, you would think. So
My gut feeling, and maybe you guys know better with the kids all the time, I just think it reflects the world we're living in now. You know, I don't think you can say, well, and not that you are saying, but they're getting no direction from the teachers. I think it's just the world we're living in is a little bit.
yeah, I'm not putting blame on anybody, for sure. I mean, it's not the administration's problem, not the teacher's problem, it's not Brett Schrader's problem. It's not. It's like the parents obviously have the part to play as well. It's just interesting data, and we were talking about the last meeting how, you know, our focus should be more on student outcomes in general, and that to me seems like something we could try to attack and try to encourage kids maybe more, have a plan. Your plans are going to change probably 90% of the time.
That's one thing I always wonder about, because like back 2013-14, majority were going to 4-year school, but did they really go to 4-year school?
Right.
Because I had a couple of my own that were going to and then didn't. So I'd kind of be interested if we could do surveys for kids who have been out a few years, what
Kids
they
that got
actually
into
do.
the trades as like an apprentice, you know, if that was undecided, and then a year later, they said, all right, I'm gonna get into the trades, and apprenticeship or something like that.
There was a lot of apprenticeships mentioned, and I put them under the work column, I guess, but, the ones that I put under undecided, like, didn't list, they listed
Cause there's
undecided.
a kid that worked for us, he's a senior graduate, and he's working for a guy in town, he's like, I don't know what I wanna do. But he's like doing septics and can run equipment, he's like, I'd like to see if I like to do heavy equipment, but I don't know unless I work for him, and he's like, I don't know if I wanna do like fiber optic or.
Sure. Well, he has a plan though.
He's got a
working, right?
plan, he's just got options, but I just, you say, when you said this, it's like how many kids are in the same boat that just have a plan, but they're still undecided on what route they're gonna
Of
take.
course, and it's highly likely that they will change,
Yeah.
but just having a plan.
Yeah.
If your plan changes, fine, but you don't wanna start your adult life with just kind of waving in the breeze, right? You wanna have somewhere to focus your energy. Don't you think, Spencer?
Yeah, the one that really disappoints me is the military. My dad he was a World War II hero. I mean, he had 133 IQ with an 8th grade education because they had to quit during the Depression and stuff. And boy, that's really scary. His dad loaded the bombs to help win the World War and got purples and bronze. And yeah, boy, I hope that this world militarily doesn't ruin everything, you know.
I went to walk-on's graduation last year, my niece graduated, there were like 6 or 8 kids going to the
Yeah,
military.
yeah, they did this year too. They had a nice bunch going.
Yeah.
Too.
What I found surprising in it was that my gut feeling was in the last few years on the board, there's been more attention to career training shown by our administration here. And yet to see the numbers of undecided increase, I was just surprised by that. Because there definitely was programs available for the students and more of an emphasis for everything from left cooperative to having, community people involved more in career training. The summer program for ag, all of this, I think, was brought out in the last few years, and yet our numbers seem to increase in undecided. I'm just surprised by it.
Do you know if every senior has a meeting with the guidance counselor, and is that question asked? Like
Junior and senior.
Junior and senior?
So we meet with all the juniors. This year I asked him to have excuse me, all the junior interviews done, with his, goal was to have done by Easter, and then to have all the senior interviews, obviously the seniors done by Thanksgiving. That's just, it's done. Important to shoot at, and, so yes, they have 2 meetings in their high school career, and, things get asked of, yes, what are your plans after high school? Things with FAFSA. Do you have a checking account? Do you have a job? Do you have a resume? Do you have kind of all of those things? Those are all part of that process, so.
I am impressed with the honesty, because, some of these students could have just, given an answer to make things look good. They were being very honest with
Yep.
their future.
Well, in 2023, there was no data from the Argus. 2022, I don't know. But this is all the information I could find. But I thought, why rely on the Argus to ask that survey? We should know that too.
So we would have something as of last fall for our seniors. And obviously things have changed in that, but yes, we would have all of those.
There's like a questionnaire that they fill out that says, it's just like this.
No, it's a physical piece of paper that we fill out during each interview. So we would have them.
So you'd have it for the last 3, 4, 5 years back?
I don't know how long Brent saves them,
Okay.
but, like a few years ago, early in my career, I would actually sit in on a number of them with him and do them with him. Help me get to know the kids a little bit better and what they wanted to do too. So that's why I know that, so.
The one that glares to me is that 2014 and 2024, in the undecided, from a 10-year period, it went from 4 out of 71 kids were undecided to 17 out of 65 kids. That's a lot.
it would be interesting to see data from way back that's consistent, coming from the same source, because I don't know what year it really started, but I want to say like maybe 90s until 2010-ish. It was pretty much like you're pushed to go to college, even if you are undecided in a major. And I feel like that push has gone away in the last 5 years, which is probably good, but I wonder if that accounts for, like say 2014, very few undecided. How many of the college kids were undecided with their major, like Melissa was saying, and maybe didn't finish college? So it's interesting, because I was part of that group. Like our high school friends, like we were just told, get a degree in something, go undecided for a couple of years, dude. So I'm curious, it's cool to look at. It just makes me have a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah. I
Do you
mean,
think it would maybe coincide with, when you, in order to stay in your parents' insurance, you had to be in school? So, but when I graduated high school, if I wanted to stay in my parents' insurance, I either need to get my own job and get my own insurance, or go to school and be covered on insurance. I couldn't take a year off and just be covered because I'm not 26 yet. Whereas now, kids can stay on parents' insurance until they're 26, regardless of what they're doing.
What would be interesting?
But I don't know when that went into effect.
Yeah.
So that would be
That
that would be a curious turning
Over
point.
13 years ago, I remember, because my son was affected by that.
2014 to 2024, you go from 42 to 25. I'd be interested to see how many of those 42 earned a college degree and used that degree for a career that you needed that degree for, as opposed to 25. I would argue that maybe the 25, a higher percentage of those kids got a specific degree that they needed for a specific job. Like I have a lot of college buddies who graduated with a degree and went into a field that didn't require a degree.
Well, and at the end of the day, when Mike handed this to me before the meeting even started, I said, the one thing that stands out to me is the undecided. Period.
Yeah.
I think we could all sit here and speculate, come up with our what ifs, or here's why, or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, you can't argue with this. And I mean, out of my own interest, I'd love to go back. I did read the Argus, and I did see, our senior graduates, and I too was surprised how many people put undecided next to that. But I would, so may I get a hand on the paper, get a hand on the senior interviews, and figure out, just even for my own, like, that's data, that's concrete. Like, this is what you wrote in the newspaper, this is what you said at your senior interview. So.
all right, well, that could be kind of a objective of ours, is to encourage kids to have a plan of some sort, even beginning their adult life. Whatever that plan happens to be, at least they have a plan. All right, anyway. That's all I had. Anything else? All right, in that case, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dan seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. It is 7:21.
Did they?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, been in the sun a lot the last couple of weeks.
I'm outside a lot. Am I tan or what?
Every time I look past Mike.
Seriously?
I'm saying he hasn't been outside.